cable customer. I'm here to ask the Commission to reconsider the decision to eliminate funding for public access TV and educational TV. Our founders knew that freedom of speech and the press were necessary to preserve democracy. Because if the public does not know what our government representatives are doing, then they will not be able to make a decision, an educated decision, about who to vote into or out of office. You may think that allowing the community to speak through public access television is not necessary because our news media covers all of the issues. However, one recent example that we're all very well aware of is the many stories about the budget cuts. We heard a little bit from the administrator about that, and it's similar to the news stories. For some reason, these news stories fail to mention that Hillsborough County's property tax revenues have gone from $300 million in 1997 to $800 million this year. And that this year's total tax revenues are almost $2 billion. The news stories also fail to mention that the newly passed statute, in essence, just slows the growth of property tax revenue without any actual reduction in overall revenue. However, even though there is no actual reduction in tax revenue, some commissioners have voted to eliminate $350,000 in funding for public access TV and the $500,000 in funding for educational TV, while keeping the $2 million in funding for the government TV channel. These cuts to public access TV and educational TV are obviously an effort to keep the public from being able to speak out through these media, an effort to undermine the public's ability to learn about the issues affecting our community, an effort to keep the public in the dark. I hope that each of you reconsiders your decision to eliminate funding for public access TV and educational TV. And also keep in mind that the taxpayers, like myself, gave up the rights to easements over their property in exchange for cable services which included public access, funding for public access TV and educational TV.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Dean Chambers, Gina Garcia.
And we just need to get a copy of the proposal if we can get it to the county administrator.
John Russell.
Craig Watson.
Thank you. I'm John Russell. Historically, public access has been an irritant to the Commission. The Fourth Estate is dead and gone, replaced by the mainstream corporate media. The public's voice grows increasingly distant and faint, while the voice of government, controlled by your political benefactors, grows louder still. With your most recent vote to defund public access and dramatically cut education TV under the guise of budgetary constraint, when we all know that that vote is purely political. A la Rhonda Storms, anybody remember her? So will you choose to facilitate the creep of corporatism into our locale? How do we go forward here? Do we go with the will of your benefactors or preserve the community's right to speak? Commissioner Higginbotham, the vote, your vote, to preserve public access was a positive one, 4-3. You took a phone call, excused yourself, and then returned and requested a revote. You and Commissioner White then both changed your vote to a 5-2 result. Such actions raise the specter of the trading of favors in exchange for a vote. As a member of the public, I find this action despicable. The public demands an explanation, both from you, Mr. Higginbotham, and Mr. White. You can provide it here, or perhaps at a later date under more formal circumstances. Should you remain steadfast in your vote to defund public access, you are, in effect, becoming nothing more than a pawn of the corporation. There's plenty of opportunity to find that $300,000+. We had people talk here about revenues and where they've come and where they've gone and where they are emanating from. And you can look at your government TV channel. I was up there, lots of people standing around. Class AA office space. Can't tell me you can't find $300,000 out of a $2 million budget up there. Or the excess amounts given to private sports entities. We need more education, science, and math. I appreciate your time. We'd certainly appreciate what that phone call was about and how you came to change your vote simultaneously with Mr. Higginbotham, Commissioner White. Any answers here?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Craig Watson.
Got my answer.